I don't even know where to begin with this one. We are almost 5 months removed from this second Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight, and the hits just keep coming. The excuses just keep coming, and it is never ending. Now, here's the latest one that just came out by Marsellos Wilder, brother of Deontay Wilder and cruiserweight boxer. He's claiming that his brother suffered a dent in his head due to blunt force trauma from an object that he believes the incident occurred in the second Fury fight. So now we have the floppy glove. Okay? Now we have a blunt force object. Again, do you guys or does anyone out there really believe now, okay, that Fury had a blunt force object in his glove? First, the claims were he was hitting Wilder with his wrist, which caused more damage than being hit by the glove, which is ridiculous. That we're not even going to go back down that road with the glove gate because that's just stupid. You know, you would have to really be a crazy conspiracy theorist. And, I've been called a conspiracy theorist by a lot of people. I mean, Eric calls me a conspiracy theorist on the show all the time. So I'm kind of a guy that always, looks at all the angles and, tries to see things that are there but aren't visible. You know, I can be somewhat controversial, but you would have to really be stretching to think that the Nevada State Athletic Commission would allow Tyson Fury to enter that ring with a blunt force object somewhere in his gloves. Now, I'm not here to defend the sport of boxing because we know boxing is, it's questionable. It's a shady sport. There's a lot of political things that go on behind the scenes. But to sit there and think that the Nevada State Athletic Commission would allow Tyson Fury to enter that ring with a weapon is utterly and totally ludicrous. Okay, you would have to really be stretching here. You would have to really be digging down deep to look for excuses. What's the next excuse that's going to come out? What's the next excuse going to be? Tyson Fury was possessed by the devil, so he had an unfair advantage over Deontay Wilder because he had an enhanced strength because he was possessed by the devil. I mean, what is the next thing that's going to come out? Tyson Fury entered the ring with the Infinity Gauntlet. That's why he beat Deontay Wilder. What other outlandish claims are going to be made? First, the glove was floppy. Now it's loaded. What's next? Tyson Fury brought a lead pipe in the ring with him. That's why he won. It's got to stop. It's looking ridiculous. And now Deontay Wilder, I don't want to accuse him of anything, but it seems as though he's sending out surrogates now on his behalf to just propagate this bullshit. Sending his brother out as a surrogate to further make excuses for his brother. And all this does is just make him look worse and worse and worse. This is a PR disaster. This is a PR disaster. Now, you can look at Tyson Fury's past, things he said, some of his actions, in regards to decisions he's made with his career. Did he get busted for PEDs? Yes. Do I believe that he took them? Yes. Do I believe that a suspension was warranted? Yes. Do I believe that he would have eventually been stripped if he didn't retire? Yes, I believe all those things. Do I believe the boar meat story? No, I don't. Okay? Because I'm not here to come on here and debate anyone or just talk about an issue based off of emotion. I'm here to apply logic to situations. Okay? I'm using logic. So, do I believe logically that Tyson Fury ate boar meat and that's why he failed the PED test or the drug test? I don't believe that. Just as I don't believe that having a glove halfway hanging off your fist is going to be beneficial to you in a fight. It just makes no sense. How would you throw a straight jab? How would you how would you throw a straight jab? So now you got a floppy glove along with a blunt force object. And now you're saying that five months later, you had a dent in your head. Why something serious is having a dent in your head? That's a serious injury. Why would you wait 5 months to reveal that? Now you have the dent in your head, you have the bicep tendon injury. It seems to me you're going to be going into this third fight severely compromised. Because if you have a dent in your head, that seems to be something that would be permanent. I'd like to see some pictures of the dent in his head. Are there any photographs out there? Any images of him with a dent in his head? I've never seen any of them. If they're out there, please feel free to send them to me via Twitter, via Facebook, any way you want. Send me a picture or a photo or an image with Deontay Wilder with a dent in his head, because I'd love to see that. I've heard it all. I've heard it all. So you're trying to say now that essentially Tyson Fury with a floppy glove flopping around, okay? Glove flopping around, caused a dent in Deontay Wilder's head. It's just ridiculous. And I'm not even going to debate anyone who is trying to, you know, propagate these outlandish claims, because you'd have to be, you'd have to be intellectually dishonest if you think that all this stuff coming out month after month after month. I mean, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. It's just not going to stop. This is like, these Wilder fans are detached from reality, because Wilder's not saying anything. His camp's not saying anything. It's almost like he's sending people out there on his behalf. And again, this is pure speculation on my part, but he's sending people out there on his behalf to propagate all these rumors. And you ask me, why do you think that be? Because he's not coming out and refuting any of this. He's just allowing it to be put out there. And he's not saying anything at all. He's not saying anything at all. So it just doesn't make sense that he would allow this to go on and not speak out. Tyson Fury's constantly doing interviews. He's not ducking and dodging the press. But Deontay Wilder, he's pretty much like Joe Biden, hiding in his basement. He's not saying anything. You know, that's his prerogative. If he wants to focus on the fight, he wants to focus on, healing up his body and rehabbing his body or whatever. That's totally up to him. But you would think with all this information coming out there, the suit, the gloves, people in his team backstabbing him, allegedly, you know, the world's against me. All of a sudden, the boxing world, the powers that be, were working against me because they didn't want me or don't want me to be champion. Meanwhile, the guy's been champion since 2010. Or actually, I'm sorry, he's been champion since I believe 2013. So the guy's been champion for the guy's been champion for 7 years, and all of a sudden now he's made multiple defenses, and all of a sudden now boxing world's trying to get rid of him. It's supposed to be a conspiracy against him. All of a sudden, really? I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know when it's gonna stop. But let's look with Marcellus Wilder. Let's look at these claims and this quote from him, and let's unpack this a little bit. He says, it's crazy when you great. They got to do everything that's underneath real to figure out how to stop you. And the most wicked shit about it is people on your own team. Once again, people on your own team. So now they were in cahoots with Team Fury, his own team. Wow. This gets really interesting. Will do anything for the hate. Money to help them. Ops take you down. It was discovered by doctors that my brother has a dent in the side of his head due to a blunt object struck against his head from his last fight. No glove or fist was able to cause the damage, according to the autopsy. An autopsy? So you have autopsies on live people now? That's a new medical discovery that I've never heard of. That all of a sudden we're gonna have autopsies now on people who are alive. Is that a new procedure? Okay. I'm going to go to the doctors today, see if I can get an autopsy, find anything that's wrong with me. Very, very interesting. Okay. My daddy once told me, if you pull a gun out on somebody, you better kill them, because if you don't, they're going to come back and kill you. The king is about to rise again. We're coming for blood. Okay. So where's the doctor's report verifying these claims? First of all, I don't see any doctor's reports. I don't see any images of Deontay Wilder with a dent in the side of his head. All I see are these outlandish claims by his brother, who, along with a lot of other Wilder fans, seems to be delusional and denial. Hey, listen, Wilder needs to come out and he needs to address some of this. He needs to come out and address some of this, because this is looking really bad. And again, I'm not a medical student. I have no medical training whatsoever. I'm not a doctor. I sometimes play one on TV. But why would an autopsy be done on a live body? Has that ever been done before? Has that ever been done before? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Let's do an autopsy on a live body. You see how ridiculous this sounds? You see how ridiculous this sounds? How outlandish this sounds? This, I don't know. You could look at this both ways. Like, this may hype up the third fight, because you have all this, controversy sells, and if all these stories keep coming out and all these conspiracy theories keep coming out, it keeps people talking about the fight while we're waiting for it to happen. And hopefully, as Bob Arum says, he's targeting December for the date of the third fight. So I'm just curious to see what's going to happen in this third fight. I'm even more curious and anxious and really looking forward to the buildup for the third fight, because I want to see the press. Let's see if the press challenges some of this stuff when they talk to Deontay Wilder. I want to see what his response is to this. I want to see if he's still in denial or if he's accepted the loss. I want to see if he's ready to put the excuses behind him. And once again, we're hearing about the team, the team, the team, the team. And before the second fight, all the talk was about Tyson Fury and why is he changing his team? What happened to the loyalty? So, what happened to the loyalty from Deontay Wilder? All of a sudden, you lose, and it's everyone else's fault but your own. And you're throwing your whole team under the bus, okay? Saying there's snakes in your camp, okay? Saying there's people that are in it just for the money, going along for the ride, not really having your best interest at heart. But meanwhile, you've had these guys in your corner since the beginning of your career, almost 11 years now. And now, after one loss, now this all comes into the light because you lost. You know, I've always liked Deontay Wilder. I like the story. I like the fact of how he came up in the sport of boxing, how he was able to go to the Olympics, represent his country, win a bronze medal, and not really being the most technically sound fighter in the world, but just getting by on sheer power and determination. I always thought the guy had a strong mind and a strong will. And I think all boxers have to have a different mental makeup than a normal average human being to be able to go in there and put themselves at risk where they're going to be taking damage and head trauma and knowing that they may not exit that ring the same way they went in. And for that, I have the utmost respect for fighters. I respect fighters almost, there's three people in this world that I respect, three types of people in this world that I really respect. And I put them like way up there in terms of respect factor, you know, coming from me, in my opinion. That's fighters, that's soldiers, guys who go into battle and put their life on the line for their country, and doctors, doctors who go in there and they have to operate to try to save people's lives. The amount of stress, they make one mistake and they could kill somebody, and they have to and they have to live with that the rest of their life. So you got guys like doctors who are surgeons who have to you know do really really complicated brain surgeries, heart surgeries, whatever. Those guys have to have nerves of steel, and they work so many hours, and it's just the pressure that's on a doctor like that, and the amount of school they have to go to, and they have to pay back all those loans, and it takes them years and years and years to be able to make that money back so they could pay off those loans. And then you got soldiers who go into war and they're on the front lines and they got bullets flying at them, and they're in the heat of battle. It takes a special person to be able to deal with that. And I put a fighter maybe below the soldier. I'm not going to put a fighter on a soldier's level because he's not getting shot at. But if a fighter goes in there for 36 minutes, he's in there, okay, and he's getting hit and hit and hit, and every punch jars that brain and rattles that brain, and the potential for permanent irreparable damage is so great. So anyone that subjects themselves to that, I have an utmost respect for them. And I don't even want to say that I lost respect for Deontay Wilder. I will say this. because everything that he's done, his story doesn't change. What he did for his daughter, the sacrifices he made. I will never in my life question any of that, try to take that away from him. I want to think the best of Deontay Wilder. I just have a ton of respect for his story, how he came up, became world champion. You can say what you want, but he did some impressive things in the sport of boxing. The way he would knock guys out, the power he possessed. We're not going to just all of a sudden after one loss erase all the good. That's not how we roll on this channel. We're not going to do that. We're not going to Monday morning quarterback. We're not going to throw people, cancel people, throw them in the trash because of a loss. But I will say this. I am greatly, greatly disappointed in the way he's handling this loss. I just think it's a bad look, and it's continued to be a bad look that seems to be getting worse and worse and worse as time goes on. And I would really love to see him come out and talk about this fight, this second fight, and try to take some responsibility for the loss and not put it on somebody else or put it on an excuse. Because it really, as I said, it's very disappointing to see this from someone who you respect, someone who you admire, someone who you want to root for. Now, obviously, I'm a huge Tyson Fury fan, and Tyson Fury currently is my favorite fighter in the sport. But that doesn't mean I don't respect Deontay Wilder. I don't have admiration for Deontay Wilder. I don't have admiration for Anthony Joshua. I respect all three of the guys, and I like all three of the guys. It just happens to be that I like Tyson Fury the best out of the three. I have I just like the guy. I like the way he fights. I like his personality. I like the way he carries himself. I like how he came back from adversity himself. But again, as much as I like Tyson Fury, I don't give him a pass on the PED test. I mean, he came up positive for nandrolone, and I don't believe the board meat excuse. So I call it both ways down the middle. And the whole thing about the lineal champ thing, I've gone over these things several times, but I'll reiterate them now here in this video. You don't walk away for the sport for 2 years and then all of a sudden come back and think that, hey, they're going to hold someone's going to hold your place in line for you, and all of a sudden you come back and you're the champion now, you're the lineal champ, whatever. That lineage was broken when you popped positive for nandrolone. And again, all the mental health problems, I empathize with that. You had some stuff you had to take care of. But again, all of the things that were going on in your life at that time with the field PED test and having to deal with the UCAD and the lawsuit and all this and that and all the litigation that was going on behind the scenes, I'm sure that added to the pressure and the stress of the situation and helped push you out the door and forced you to take that 2-year hiatus. So I'm not giving Tyson Fury a pass on his issues either. But again, he's been tested by VADA now. He's been tested. He's been clean. He seems to have his life in order. Doesn't seem to have an issue with the drugs and the drinking anymore, at least from what we see of him. He hasn't ballooned up in weight. We've seen him on Instagram. Still looks in great shape. So he still looks focused. He still looks ready, willing, and able to go on with his career and make a commitment to the sport of boxing again. So does that erase his past? No. But we can only judge somebody on what they are today, not what they were in the past. So if someone has shown me evidence that they've overcome their shortcomings in life, then I gotta give them, I gotta give them respect for that. I got to acknowledge that. It's not like the situation with Big Baby Miller, who continues to, fail drug tests. It's hard to give that guy a pass. Now, if Tyson Fury comes up and he pops dirty again for a PED, I mean, there's not much I can do to defend the guy. I'm going to have to say, hey, man, there's a pattern here. Going to have to probably do a 2 to 3 year ban, possibly a lifetime ban. Possibly a lifetime ban. We'll see. It's questionable. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Big Baby Miller, but I call it like I see it, guys. Sugar Ray Leonard, my favorite fighter of all time. But when he fought Donnie Lalonde for a 168-pound title and a 175-pound title on the same night, and then you're forcing a guy to come down to 168 to defend a 175-pound title. Did not think that was fair to Donnie Lalonde. I thought it was a diva move. I thought it was gimmicky, being able to fight for 2 titles on the same night. You're weighing in at basically 162 pounds, and you're fighting for a super middleweight and a light heavyweight title on the same night. And you had no fights at 168. You had no fights at 175. But what does the WBC do? They give you a title shot in 2 weight classes you never fought in before. As much as I love Ray Leonard, I love him to death. My favorite person in the sport of boxing of all time. But I have to call it like I see it. It was a ridiculous move to allow that fight to happen for 2 world titles and make a guy come down to 168 to defend a 175-pound title. Now you ask yourself, B, why didn't he just turn the fight down? He had 10 million reasons why not to turn the fight down. There was just too much money on the table for him to pass it up. Okay? And in the sport of boxing, where one punch changes anything, or everything, I should say, excuse me, if you have that amount of money on the table, you take it. So you can't begrudge Donnie Lalonde for taking the fight. There was just too much money on the table for him to pass that up. But yeah, Ray Leonard versus Tommy Hearns, the second fight. As much as I love Ray Leonard, he lost that second fight to Tommy Hearns, and he even admitted he lost the second fight. So again, I have my favorites, but I call it down the middle. As much as I admire fighters, and as much as I have an affinity to certain fighters over others, I can still watch a fight, score it, judge it, and be objective. And if someone who I admire does something questionable or that I feel isn't right, and they need to be criticized and they deserve to be criticized for it, I will criticize them for it. Okay? But Deontay Wilder, this is a horrendous look. And again, I'll say it once again. He has to come out and address some of this, because all this is doing is destroying his reputation. It's destroying his reputation. Everybody is biased in the sport of boxing, but not everybody is objective. You can be biased and be objective at the same time. By saying somebody is your favorite, that means you have a bias towards them. But if you can show objectivity in regards to a situation involving that fighter, as I just gave examples of, then I think people can look at you and say, yeah, this guy may be biased, but at least he can be objective as well. There's a difference between being biased and being objective. Okay? It's like these political, we have factions in the sport of boxing. Boxing is so tribal. Boxing has become like politics. Like, we have politics right now. We have the Democrats and the Republicans. And a lot of issues, people are just playing politics with these issues, and they're not really looking at the issues themselves. Okay. And this is what we have in boxing. We have a lot of cognitive dissonance. So we're supposed to believe that Tyson Fury brought a blunt object into the ring with him. The Nevada State Athletic Commission, after checking his gloves, inspecting him before the fight, they allowed this to happen. Do you realize what would happen to the Nevada State Athletic Commission if it was discovered and revealed that they allowed this to happen? Do you think that they would put themselves in a position where they could be scrutinized heavily and they could be in serious trouble? Do you think that they would allow this to happen? They would put their reputation and the livelihood of the sport of boxing in their state on the line just to allow Tyson Fury to beat Deontay Wilder? Would that even be possible? Would that even be possible? That's what I want to know. And what does any logical person let's take the emotion out of this, because again, a lot of people want to bring emotion and try to use emotion against logic. And emotion will never beat logic. It will never beat logic. So again, will this be the last excuse? Will this be the last ridiculous claim that's being made? Unfortunately, probably not. The next thing we're going to find out is they drugged Deontay Wilder's water in between rounds. You know, they put some Quaaludes, they crushed up some Quaaludes in his water, and that's why he was out of it. It's just going to continue, and it's going to continue, and it's going to continue, and it's never going to end. You know, but again, I have to ask you, all this controversy, will this help build up the third fight? Will this bring more interest to the third fight? It's a good question. Possibly could. And I'm curious to see, you know, amidst this pandemic that we're in right now, if this fight does happen in December, I'm curious to see the state of boxing in December, if, if they're able to bring back live crowds at that point in time. I'm just curious to see how well received this third fight will be, because a lot of people are saying, oh, this is a joke of a fight, just like they were saying Mayweather McGregor was a joke of a fight. But look what that did. Now, obviously, I'm not going to compare this fight to that fight. I don't want to hear, oh, baby, how can you compare Mayweather to Wilder? I'm not doing that. All I'm saying is I'm looking at a similarity where that fight was heavily criticized, and everyone was making that fight out to be a circus and a joke, but people still tuned in to watch it. Now everybody's saying this fight is not needed. Who cares about it? Let's just fast forward and circumvent Wilder and go right to Joshua Fury. Joshua. That's what people are saying now. Everyone's so down on this fight. Okay. Let's see if those same people tune in for the third fight. Because many times Eric and I will be talking about a fight during the build-up, and we'll be like, I'm not really interested in that. And then as time goes by and we start getting near to the event, and we're 2 weeks, 1 week, 5 days, 3 days, we start changing our minds a little bit. We start getting excited a little bit. So let's see if that happens for this third fight with Fury and Wilder. I'm curious to see if that happens. I think possibly it may. And I would not be surprised if this fight did another 800,000 pay-per-view buys, or maybe even a little more. But we'll see. All right, guys, thank you so much. I got to head off to work. Got to pay the bills. I'll talk to you soon. Maybe I'll jump on later. Everyone stay safe. Have a great day. Beeb is out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out. Oh, and as always, don't forget to check out the Ringside Reporter podcast every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, where we break down the week and we recap the week of fights and give you the latest boxing news and rumors. All right, Beavers, I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace. Have a great day.